everyone. My name's Elissa, and I'm here with my brother today.
Hi, I'm Tobias. I am the brother.
And today we're going to be talking about and reviewing the movie Oliver&Company. In case you don't know it or have never seen it, it's an older Disney movie. It's a cartoon made in 1988, and it's kind of about this orphan cat who's like left on the street and is taken in by a group of dogs who kind of like show him the ropes and like teach him how to survive on the street.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because you have sort of this cat that sort of gets adopted into this family of dogs, and they end up being like really really close.
So we have a few things that we wanted to talk about. So why don't we just start with the animation?
I really love the animation. I've always felt like 2D animation and like 2D art styles are just like generally they age a lot better than 3D. It's aged very very well, yeah, but it holds up very well. And there's some parts that are just excellent, that just are absolutely more beautiful in 2D, like water animation, for example, which just is very difficult to do very well in 3D animation.
Yeah, I also really love the animation of this movie. It is very clean and like the lines are very crisp. It's definitely interesting to compare to like other movies like Disney movies like Aristocats or 101 Dalmatians, which are more like sketch style. This one is more like clean and it's just the animation style is very like pure and innocent, and it really helps with like to tell the story. Another thing is like just like the opening sequence. It's basically like, there's a song playing in the background and you see what's happening. And it's very kind of reminiscent of like the Carl and Ellie sequence in the beginning of Up. It's just, it's telling stories, but there's no dialogue. And it's very effective, and it kind of like draws you in right away and like sets up the tone.
Right, yeah, the visual storytelling is just really good. It's just, I mean, you can tell exactly what's going on. There's no ambiguity at all. The music sets the tone really excellently. It just works really smoothly, and you know, it's just done really well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the music a little bit. Um, I definitely wouldn't consider it a musical, but music is definitely a core part of the storytelling.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I feel like the songs that are there, they're very good, but some of them aren't quite as memorable as some of the
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, some of the like Disney classics, like the ones in like Aladdin or like The Little Mermaid or something like that.
right, right. I would agree with that. Like, there are definitely some standouts that are like high key bops and like, yeah, this is such a good song. And then there are other ones that are like, yeah, this it does its job. You know, it's good, but it's not like amazing.
Right, right, right.
And like we said earlier, it definitely helps to like tell the story, and like it's really an important part of conveying like what it's trying to convey.
Yeah, it all contributes in a very good way. And it just you can sort of feel it in the way that they are sort of emphasizing the feeling with the score.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about like the storytelling a little bit as well. Um, One thing I noticed was like it's a very simple story, um, but I love the pacing. The story knows what it wants. It's very clear. It's very direct. It's not rushed. Like there's not like too much exposition. Kind of gradually unfolds, and I think that's great for rewatchability. I think that's part of like what makes it a classic in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I feel like the story just it's paced really well. It's very efficient. It does exactly what it needs to do, exactly when it needs to do it. I'm reminded of a quote by like some author, and he was writing a letter, and it was like 50 pages or something like that, and he was saying, I'm sorry, I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. You know, it's very compacted. They
Yeah,
didn't add anything that wasn't necessary,
yeah, yeah,
which
definitely.
is good.
So one thing about this movie, like it is a cartoon, obviously, um, and some of the situations and like some of the actions are just like so ridiculous. Like it's so believable in its ridiculousness, and it's like it has a way of just like drawing you into the world, is like, and you just accept it. And
Right.
I feel like this movie never really takes you out of it. you're always just like so engaged with what's going on and the characters and how great their chemistry is.
Right.
You never really think, oh, this is like so ridiculous, you know?
One thing that we were talking about was how this movie can get very dark at times. Like, for example, one of the characters borrowed money from a loan shark, and he's like threatened throughout the movie, and that's like a big plot point. Which is kind of crazy for a Disney movie, but
Yeah.
it's not overdone. You know.
And like this loan shark is like vicious. I feel like as a kid I didn't notice as much of the kind of things like that he was saying.
Yeah, at one point he's talking about like he says like, "Yeah, you got to start at the knuckles."
Right.
And stuff like that, just like in the background, like it's not even anything,
Yeah, it's
you
just
know.
like slide that in there. And a lot of older Disney movies are kind of dark. But it's got that classic like happy ending where, the heroes get what they wanted and the villains either die or face some sort of horrible punishment. Okay, let's move on to some of the voice acting. Yeah, I think for the most part, I really like the voice acting, and like they did a good job of like differentiating like different characters, and like all the different personalities. I think like all the characters like had a really good relationship and like meshed really well. Some of the singing was a little different than the voice acting. Like the singing voice was different, but other than that, I really enjoyed it.
In those moments, I feel like those are the like sort of like the small moments where you do kind of get taken out slightly,
Yeah.
you know, because you're like that's not the same person. But other than that, it's mostly smooth. The voice acting is very good. They express the emotions very well.
And going back to like characters and like relationship with characters, I just thought the relationship with like all the dogs and like Oliver and like Fagin, the guy who like owed money, it was so sweet. It was so pure. Like just the way that like they took care of him and like they looked after him and like they cared about each other so much. It was just my heart.
Yeah, yeah. The dogs and Oliver are sort of acting as like they're sort of acting as like Fagin's emotional support animals
Yeah.
to an extent. It it's so great.
I will say though, the relationship between Tito and Georgette, kind of weird, kind of creepy.
Well, I feel like at first there's definitely some creepiness going on. He's going for it, you know.
Yeah.
He really is, but she seems to sort of she seems to sort of flip the tables around on him, and ends up going for him even
Yeah,
more than
like at first he's basically a creep, and some of the things he says are also kind of like. Then she like flips around and goes from being like super arrogant, like "Oh, I'm too good for you," and being like super codependent, like Alonzo.
yeah, yeah. And then he was like, "No, you're too clingy, man.
Right,
You're too
right.
clingy, man." As he would say it. Also, their thing can get a little bit inappropriate at times.
Yeah, yeah. I also wrote that down in my notes.
Well, anyway, so Jenny,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, this little girl who like takes Oliver in some way through the movie, and it's really interesting because, I mean, at the start, that's all he ever wants, but
right. Yeah, the relationship between Jenny and Oliver, it's really sweet, and like they have this whole song. They mean the world to each other. Um,
yeah, it's really good. She just really needs a friend, you know.
yeah,
It seems like she just doesn't really have anyone. Like even like her parents just like aren't around much. I mean, at the end of the movie, we see that like they miss her birthday.
yeah,
Um, and by the way that it's shown, you can tell that this is sort of like a common occurrence. They're just like not really there for her much at all. Which is really a shame. But you know,
yeah. Like, and I know, like, it's really not the point of the movie. Like, her absent parents and like the fact that like she has like zero friends to the point where like everyone at her birthday party is an animal. But also that's definitely something that I noticed. Like, her parents are absent. Like, why doesn't she have any friends?
I guess that sort of makes sense with sort of the themes ish of the movie. Oliver, for example, he doesn't find any luck trying to be with any of the humans. At the start of the movie, it's almost ridiculous, like how they're all just like rejecting him for no real reason. But like, then he finds friends, and those sort of become like a family to him.
Like a chosen family.
Right, exactly. It would make sense with that being sort of a common theme for Jenny's real family to not really be her family.
Yeah, and like going off that, I think that's kind of, like you said, one of the main themes of the film, like chosen family and like, friends are the family you choose, like community, we're better together kind of thing. And it's, yeah,
Right. Which is executed really well.
yeah, definitely. And like, even with everything else going on in the movie, like, Fagin trying to pay back the loan shark, Oliver and the dogs, looking for food. They have these moments where it's just like, everything's quiet and they're all together and they just enjoy each other's company.
But all of the character relationships just flow really well.
Yeah.
They all feel like they're actually friends, like they're actually like they actually know each other.
Yeah, it's very believable. Also, I thought the movie was just like, it had its funny moments, like, just like one liners, like when Fagin's like, dead man, do not buy dog food.
Yeah, that was really great. It really it really sort of it's funny, but it also really sort of shows just like in what kind of a scenario he's in, which
Yeah.
also emphasizes that it's kind of dark, you
Yeah.
know? Like he's like in a really desperate situation, but he's still able to enjoy time with his dogs and sort of make jokes
Right.
almost.
And also like the villain death scene, like they don't show anything, but if you think about it, like that's really graphic.
Yeah, he gets like run over by a train.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's classic Disney,
Yeah.
falling off buildings, getting run off trains, getting trapped forever in a lamp, or
Falling off a cliff, getting crushed by huge rocks.
they don't pull any punches.
No, they don't. So, what would you rate this movie? And, I have a few different categories for like how I rated it.
Yeah. You can go first.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I'll start with like my nostalgia rating because I feel like I would probably rate this movie higher because like just how close it is to my heart than I would if it was like looking at it objectively.
Yeah.
My nostalgia rating would be like 7.6, just because I really, really enjoy this movie. But as compared to like other Disney movies, because Disney's released a lot of like really great movies. So if we're just talking Disney movies, I would probably rate it a little on the lower side on a 6.3, just because like Disney's released so many like standout movies. Let's see. The animation, I would probably rate about a 6.7, because I really enjoy the animation. Like I said, it's really smooth. It's great at storytelling. The voice acting, I would probably rate about a 7.2, because there's a lot of dynamics between the different characters, and like you can tell who each character is based on like how they communicate, and I think that's really cool. The music, I would probably rate about 7.3, 7.4, because, there are a lot of great songs, but there's also some songs that aren't as memorable. I think I would give it an overall rating of a 7.2.
My nostalgia rating, I if I'm being honest, I don't have all that much. Probably I would give it like a maybe like a 5.5.
Wow, okay.
The animation I did give an 8, but I would probably actually say more like a 7.5.
Okay.
Um, like I said, I really like the 2D animation. It's just It's just really smooth. It's good, and I see no flaw with it. Acting, I gave a 7. It is just it is very effective. It works really well. I wouldn't say I'm actually going to give the acting an 8. I'm
Oh,
sorry, I'm changing my
okay.
ratings here. Yeah, it's done very well. It portrays everything that it needs to portray and nothing more. Music, I'm gonna give it a 7, solid 7.
Mm.
There are just some songs that are just iconic.
Yeah.
Mainly for me, "Why Should I Worry,"
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is it's the first song in the movie. It is in my head always. Um, and it's just a great song. And it illustrates the great animation and the cartooniness aspect of it in a really smooth way, and it just makes everything really nice. It's a really great illustration in my opinion, a really high point of the movie. As a movie, I give it a 7.4.
Okay, cool. That's a pretty solid rating. So yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Thanks everyone so much for joining us. If you have any recommendations for other movies that you want us to review, you can go ahead and leave it in the comments. We'll probably be reviewing more movies soon, so just be on the lookout for that. Um, Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video.
Bye.